James, we were just talking. James is up from Columbus, and I was getting ready to tell this story. Uh, my wife works for a government agency, um, and we were on the she was on the podcast with another friend of hers who also works for this same government agency, and um, I curse all the time on it. So she's on there discussing nutrition with this friend of hers who's also an expert in this stuff. And when the podcast released, one of these people called the government and complained that there was too much cursing in the podcast. So we were just talking about editing this thing.
I read this article that said that you should try to associate yourself with people that curse a lot because they tend to be more intelligent for some reason or something like that.
I saw that on Facebook.
I did too. I don't know if that's fake news or not.
Right.
But
yeah, I don't know.
I like it because I curse a lot, so I'm like, hey, I'm intelligent.
I don't think. Well, you're probably the same type of boat. I don't think I cursed that much until I started working in the jails when I was like
military.
21. Yeah, you were in the military.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
You just get used to that flow.
The other thing I ran across was I think even MythBusters did a an excerpt on an episode or whatever where when you curse you can handle pain better. Like it helps. I don't know. It releases endorphins or does something, and it allows you to combat the pain. And since I have the chronic nerve pain, I think that probably helped carry on the whole cursing. It just perpetuated it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, MythBusters that has done more to alleviate some of these urban myths and pop rocks and all this stuff.
I miss it, man. I miss it. It's too bad that
It was too smart for TV, I think.
They sent a cannonball from like a range into a neighborhood and it went through somebody's house or something.
Oh,
so no insurance companies will carry them anymore, and I think that's what killed them. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it blew through somebody's. I mean, nobody was there, but I mean, it's a cannonball blowing through some. You got this 10-inch hole in your wall when you get home. You're like, what the fuck did this come from? No, somebody's playing with cannonballs at the range a mile away or whatever it was.
Yeah, Aaron's dad is obsessed with cannons and wants one bad, and I really want to buy him a cannon, and her mother keeps shutting it down. They don't want to obviously irritate the neighbors. They live up on a hill in Iowa.
Potato gun.
Yeah, I got hit in the head with one of those one time. I was at this bonfire, and for some reason I had this big fucking 10-gallon straw cowboy hat on. And I was drinking, and someone let off one of these potato guns, and it hit me right in the side of the head. And the only thing that saved me was the brim of the cowboy hat somehow, kind of just knocked it off course just enough that it didn't kill me.
I don't know what the deal was with potato guns, but it was a thing in my neighborhood when I was growing up for July 4th. So
did you works bombs too when you were a kid with the 2-liter bottles?
No. Oh, with the Mentos thing?
No, we would take 2-liter pop bottles. Well, this is gonna get me on some kind of no-fly list, I'm sure. But you would take 2-liter pop bottles and fill them full of aluminum foil. And then I think it was Drano you would pour in and put the top on real tight, and then the 2-liter would expand and expand and expand because the gases and eventually explode. Well, used to be a game in college where we would put one of these on someone's doorstep and ring the doorbell. They'd open the door, see it, oh God, they would shut the door.
You're officially on the no-fly zone.
So I'm in my buddy's apartment one time, and we're just dicking around, and he decides he's going to go do this. So we're sitting in the apartment, and he runs across the apartment complex in college and puts the works bomb on somebody's front doorstep and rings the doorbell, and it's these 2 Indian guys. So they open up the door and they look, and we're all sitting behind the couch looking, and they look and see what it is, and these motherfuckers pick the works bomb up and bring it in their house.
Oh
so
no!
I'm sitting going, oh my God, what's going to happen? So of course it explodes. Of course, we've got the lights off in the place. We're scared to death. The cops show up. The fire department shows up. Nobody's hurt, thank God. But the one buddy of mine ends up going like he's jogging. So he puts takes his shirt off, puts his jogging stuff on, and runs. Oh, hey, what's going on? Just trying to see if everyone was okay. And thank God everyone was okay. That guy, I think, ended up being a city councilman or some kind of government official. They probably didn't know about his terrorist leanings.
Oh my God! If you did that, I mean, you can't do that anymore.
Oh God, no! This was way pre 9/11.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't do any of that anymore. It's amazing. Like, the cops showed up. The last time I was back home. I'm from California, and last time I was back home, we shot off the potato gun for July 4th.
Uh-huh.
And the cops showed up. I'm like, I mean, everybody's firing. Obviously, fireworks are illegal in the part of California that I'm from because it's like super dry and
right. Oh yeah.
Catch the whole entire state on fire then. But the cop shows up. He's like, yeah, I went around and I was looking at you guys through the fence, and I saw something going on. I was like, what did you see? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, just put it away. And
at least that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, he didn't. I'm glad he didn't call.
Boys will be boys.
Homeland Security or something.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a ridiculous. I was listening to a little bit of Joe Rogan on the way up here, and it's amazing to me, like, how blind people are to, like, what's actually. Like,
which one were you listening to?
Candace, somebody or another.
Yeah, the
she's
conservative.
Like the conservative black girl. Yeah,
yeah.
It was like, I guess it's weird to say, but I feel like my accident was sort of like a blessing and a curse, because it really did, like, bring me into the moment, which I think is really important. A lot of people, they live in the future, or they live in the past, or they're trying to live in the future or in the past. But if you're not right in the moment, you're gonna miss everything that passes by your face.
Right, yeah.
And the other thing too is, like, you're not guaranteed the next minute even.
Yeah.
Nothing is a guarantee. So, like, I get having goals and all that stuff, but just trying to plan your entire life.
Yeah.
I mean, in the matter of 2 minutes, you could be completely in a different direction. So,
what about the podcast struck you about that?
She was talking about how she went from being a liberal to a Republican, and I thought it was interesting that it was sort of a hate crime that made her become a liberal,
right?
Because the bandwagons and all of the all the people that were angry and stuff that pushed her to basically make it a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she didn't make it a big deal.
They made it a big deal. But
they made it a big deal for her, And then she tries to, do something about it, right? Later on, she tries to, like, start up this. It was like a, she has this idea that she wants to create this program that will, it will put a face to the trolls on, like, social media that say stupid shit, but they're not going to get popped in the face, so they don't care.
Yeah.
And she got called by another person who said that, if you do this, you're going to get all this hate from all these people. And an hour later, she got all this hate from all these people.
Yeah.
And then, like, the liberal, like, Newsweek, I don't know, whatever. I don't watch the news anymore.
I'm with you.
I don't have cable TV. I don't have any of that shit. And you know what? My life is a hell of a lot better.
How long have you been doing that?
Oh, jeez. I think pretty much it has to have been at least 5 years, maybe even longer.
So right about when I started.
Yeah, like, I don't.
Out,
It's amazing how much less stress there is when you're not being inundated by all these, like, these agenda-filled things.
Yeah. So I used to, and I always talk about it as being part of my evolution, was I was like my parents. I would watch Fox News all the time.
Right, that's what my parents, they're conservatives. They watch the conservative channel, but it's still an agenda.
Right.
Like, you're not getting real news.
So when I finally said, this is all fucking bullshit.
Right.
This is all one-sided bullshit. And
it's fun to make, to perpetuate their,
And there's things, I think, we had this discussion the other day with a friend of mine, and I think I'm way more liberal than I am conservative. Really, my only conservative leanings are fiscal. And
I think that's generally kind of how everything. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call myself a libertarian, even though I kind of try to cut down the middle.
Yeah.
And but I kind of agree. I mean, there is a good place for government, but
Yes, yeah. I think government should be meant to fix my roads and make sure no one invades.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the major crux. And well, there was a guy, Dave Rubin, on Rogan the other day talking about, and he's a conservative. He's a conservative gay comedian, which is all odd to me that all those things are in the same sense.
Yeah.
But he was talking about just that with the government and municipalities and states and the local governments just taking care of a lot of this stuff that the federal government kind of is almost forced to stick their nose into now because people bitch and complain. And I think you're absolutely right. If people would just tune out and just leave that shit alone. I get the majority of my news now from podcasts, which like well, Rogan's podcast is great because he has a variety of different voices on there, and he doesn't always agree with the people he has on. Andy Stumpf is another one. Do you know Andy Stumpf? That his show Cleared Hot is he was a former Navy SEAL who has some
Sure.
different guys on there and different approaches. And so
I like the ones that, like Joe, like he tends to bring on everybody. Anybody, it's like basically anybody who will come on his podcast to laugh almost, and I mean, obviously I don't know the guy personally, so I don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like they have an agenda, like, oh no, I'm not.
Because he will argue.
He will, yeah. Sometimes it gets a little tense, and I have not got anyone on here yet who said anything outrageous enough for me to go, that you're full of shit. That's not,
And how, well, they both were really about how there's always something to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you I mean, I get that you're gonna. So I was listening to that and I was thinking, well, everybody's still opinionated.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have an opinion.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean, like, I have opinions about all kinds of things.
Yeah.
I got big opinions about religion and politics and all this stuff. But that doesn't mean I'm not open to listening to their opinion as well. And help, and it helps not change, but it helps, guide my thought processes too. Like, because sometimes, they made more sense.
Yeah.
So I'm going to adopt some of that, and
yeah.
I think that's something that we don't teach anymore. Like, I feel like a lot of schools, just the whole education process in general is so closed. You can only do it one way. You can only have it one way, And
we had a bunch of teachers in here, and
I might be wrong because it's been a while, but
I have too. We had a bunch of teachers in here talking about violence in schools, and one of their major problems, and it wasn't even something I thought about, is the fact that they are so boxed into what they can teach, and they have to teach towards these tests, and you've got 50 kids in a classroom, so they have 50 kids in the classroom. They're boxed into this narrow lane of what they can teach and how long they have to teach it, and they have to get good results. So there's no chance to interact with any of these kids and figure out, well, which way does little Johnny learn better, or does this person need a little extra help?
Yeah, that's.
So these kids are they have no early warning signs that this might be a problem because they have no real interactions with their students anymore.
No personal interactions, so they don't know the people. Yeah,
and I think
can see that. It was even when I was in school. I mean, I'm 36, so what has it been? Almost 20 years since I've been in school.
Isn't that wild to think about?
Holy hell.
I'm going on 30.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's weird, but even then, even in my time in school, it was the same way. It's not, there were so many people in class, they can't interact like that, and I get, it's all directed toward one thing, and it's just, until that changes, nothing else will change.
Yeah.
Until the whole, well, you get, I'm not sure, but don't they get money based upon how their school?
Yeah, they get funding, and
they
that's
get
why
funding
it's so
based upon
important.
but on the test scores, right?
And one of my son's teachers, basically, God love her, and she said to him, these kids were all stressed out about this standardized testing coming up. She stopped the class and said, look, this doesn't matter. It matters to us, but it doesn't matter to you. And she explained the whole thing, that if you do well, we get more money, but you guys shouldn't worry about this. And it was like taking a weight off their shoulders. All of a sudden they were like, oh, okay. And I would guess they were a little bit more loose, probably did better that way.
They probably did better that way because they weren't so wound up about having to, like, well, if I don't succeed on this test, then I'm going to fail in life, kind of thing,
I wonder how much better off we'd be if
I didn't take the SAT.
You didn't take any of them?
Well, I did take one or something.
ACT or?
No, I took the SAT. It was
Okay.
yeah, they didn't have the ACT in California at that time.
Okay.
I don't think. But I took the ASVAB.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah. When did you go in?
99.
99. You were 18?
17.
17.
My parents signed.
No shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 99. What was going on then? What does a parent have to really be nervous about?
There was nothing.
I mean,
happening.
yeah, it's the military, so it's there's more danger there inherited. But I mean, come on, you can.
And they signed you up for the Army, right?
Marine Corps.
Oh, Marine Corps. Okay.
I signed up for it.
Right.
And
they signed for it. Yeah.
I don't know. I went through this process that I was like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with life at that point, and I hadn't had a real I mean, I was a vanilla childhood for me, like
suburban kid.
Suburban, no, vanilla. I don't know if that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was there was no gang violence.
There's no black people.
No violence.
Let's say it, James. There's no black people in your neighborhood.
No, absolutely not what I was saying. No, but there was no real violence there. I mean, I think I saw cops go by my house twice in 25 years, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like, I couldn't tell you. I mean, there was no school violence in the sense of gunmen and all of that stuff. Yeah. And Columbine happened in what, 95 or something? 94?
Was it that early? I don't even remember.
I thought it was the mid 90s.
It was 90s for sure.
So I was in high school, I think, when that happened. But nothing. I don't know. It just never seemed to affect my high school career.
Were you an athlete?
Nah, not really. Not for the school anyway. I did. I was into martial arts and stuff back then. Yeah.
And then
it's kind of weird how everything happened. Like, so as a child, I didn't really. I spent a lot of time outside, which digging holes and cutting trees down and building tree forts and all of that stuff. And rollerblades were big back when I was growing up, so we started playing roller hockey, full contact, of course. Football, and when I got into high school, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just kind of disliked everything about like all the people there.
Yeah, right.
Mostly, they just, I don't know, it was weird, the whole clique thing, and so I rebelled against all of the school sports and started doing martial arts. I did started up with Scott Johnson, that was his name, and he, I think, Tung Sudo, Taekwondo, Ninjutsu stuff, so it seemed pretty legit at the time, I'm pretty sure, I mean, it still was, the guys, they had a pretty broad teaching, and bless his heart though, we started doing jiu-jitsu before the Brazilian thing hit, because that was like 94 or something like that.
Yeah, it was early.
It was like right before the whole, the first startup of the UFC, and we were just calling it jiu-jitsu, but we were doing all of that shit on the ground, and I think he tried to pull in some of that catch wrestling stuff from England.
Yeah.
To, and so, I had this background in Brazilian jiu-jitsu that I didn't even know I had, and so when I went into like doing Muay Thai, and I met this other guy, Ken Rose, he was a Muay Thai teacher, and he didn't really have any background in ground fighting or any of the MMA stuff, so I already had that, and then when I was in the military as well, having that was awesome, so I did all that, and then I started heavily into the Muay Thai stuff, did smoker matches and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
No semi-pro stuff. I was about to do semi-pro stuff, but I got owned by a truck, so, but I was doing pretty good with the smoker stuff. I think I was 12-2 or something.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was tall and thin, so I fought guys that were like, 5'8", 5'9".
Right.
And I just
keep it
yeah, and I had a heavy clench because I'm a big barrel up in the, so I like a lot of upper body mass, and I could just bring those elbows into their chest, and they couldn't move and stuff, and so I really loved that, but I was like 185 pounds at 6'2". I mean, it was
Yeah, that's pretty thin, right?
I could fit through a porthole.
And then you decided that you were going to go the military route.
So I was in high school. I was doing the Muay Thai stuff. Didn't really know what to do career wise, and I also wanted to go to school, but I was like, well, my parents have already been this good to me, so
yeah,
what can I?
That's a pretty enlightened thing for a 17-year-old.
I could give back.
Think
it was a weird thing. Yeah, I remember it specifically. Just my parents are amazing. They've already raised me to the best of their ability. Do I really want to suck another $100,000 out of them?
Yeah, really. Yeah.
And I was like, well, I can also give back to the the people and all this stuff. Like it was just this weird. It was just one of those thoughts that just kind of popped into my head.
An epiphany.
Well, and it helped that my next door neighbor was a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps, and my grandfather was in the Army. It was kind of like I felt like a traditional sort of thing. My dad was almost in the Army too. He ended up becoming an engineer, and he was like he was going to be either an Army Corps engineer or a private engineer. So it was around, and I respected those guys a lot, my neighbors especially, or my neighbor, Nick Duncan was his name. He just, their presence, almost, it was weird. Like they were just, it was, you know how you look at somebody who's in the military, they're very powerful presence-wise most of the time.
And we've got a guy in here, Isaac, who I always tell people I want to be when I grow up, and he was a recon sniper and injured in Fallujah, and he just has that look to him that and he's a fantastic human. He raised 4 kids, and he's a family man and works his ass off. Real smart guy, does a manual labor job. Him and his father kind of run this company, and he comes in here exhausted every day and working out in his jeans, but he just has that presence about him.
Yeah, absolutely. You kind of want to. You almost want to follow them.
Right. Yeah.
It's a weird thing. And so, I had all those. I had definitely influences, and here's a good story. So I'm maybe 15-ish, somewhere in that range, 10 to 15, and my grandfather took me to get this haircut. I remember this vividly. It's a weird. You how you have these weird experts. You can't really remember how the entire childhood went, but you got these
little flashes.
Yeah, these little flashes. So he takes me to this barbershop, Dick King's barbershop, right? And he's a former Marine, right? And at 15, I'm finally kind of, looking around now. I'm starting to, start to take in your surroundings, and you read and stuff on the wall, you see things. Well, anyway, he's got these 2, plaques up on the wall, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, Navy Cross, huh? What's that? It's got 2 specific citations for 2 separate Navy Crosses.
Wow.
That's one under the Congressional Congressional Medal of Honor. So I didn't realize how big that was at the time. So I started reading them, and then I got a little bit of story background too. He was in Korea. He was protecting his unit from an elevated attack position from the enemy. They were in a foxhole or something like that. It was like a gunner's post or something. And his platoon, I think he was a platoon sergeant at the time. His platoon was pinned down. They're shooting down at him. As soon as they did their ammo change, he charges the nest thing. He charges it, and he's shooting blah 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 blah, and he picks off a couple of them, and he's picking up weapons and shooting on the way, and he ends up jumping into their position and whipping out his K-bar and killing the last 2 with it, right? Okay. It didn't really, it was for, the citation didn't say all that, but that was the story I got behind that one, And the other one was he pulled 2 people out of a minefield after being shot the first time. So this guy's this guy's a legitimate badass, right? And you would never realize it. It's the sweetest man in there cutting hair.
Cutting hair.
For fuck's sake, So I'm sitting there, and he likes to use the straight razor for, the cleanup. And he's got a little bit of shake to him. And I had just read that, and just sucked it in. Got the story from my grandfather, I think, about the whole, you know,
Yeah.
you used a K-bar to kill these two Koreans, or not Korean. I'm sorry, whatever they were, you know, Chinese or something.
Yeah.
Whoever they happened to be engaged
North
with.
Korean, Chinese
North
nationals.
Koreans, yeah, whatever they were. And so I'm sitting there. He's done the haircut. He whips out the straight razor. He grabs the piece of leather. He's like, you know. And then he's doing this. He's shaking his hand. I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna kill me, you know. And then it was just the smoothest.
Yeah.
Done.
As soon as he touches skin.
Yeah, he just this insane smoothness from that, and I just you know, I was flat. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, look at this guy, you know, like
you gotta shut your eyes.
yeah,
and let it happen.
yeah, and I was sold, like just you know, he was the most badass person I had ever seen.
Yeah.
And he was just this normal guy, you know, and I'm like, oh, so not everybody who goes through the military becomes this insane murderous person, you know.
Yeah. I'm sure you've seen your share of both. I guess it all depends on your mental makeup before you go in.
There's some real stuff behind bloodlust and all that.
Yeah,
and
right.
People freak out, you know. But so you know, I had these influences and stuff, and so I joined the military. I took the ASVAB, qualified for kind of anything I wanted to do.
So you scored pretty high on it.
Yeah, like a 91 or 2 or something like that. So he's like, well, he looks at me. That was the worst too. Like I scored so high I could do anything I wanted. I had no idea what I wanted to do. The whole point about the fucking thing was to go in there and get some direction. Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm like, well, he's like, well, why don't you sign up and be a mechanic? Or we'll put you in it's not a mechanic, but like the repairman's category. Because it was like you weren't guaranteed where you were going to go specifically.
Right.
But there was a group, like the 2100 group was where it was, for the MOS was where I was guaranteed. But I could have been, you know, a tank mechanic, an AAV mechanic, a helicopter mechanic, any of those things. So I ended up becoming an AAV mechanic, a amphibious assault vehicle mechanic.
Yeah.
And that's what I did while I was there, and kept doing the Muay Thai and all that, and then I.
And you were where? Where did you end up going?
Camp Pendleton. I was
okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, I didn't. For whatever reason, I'm not complaining, but I never deployed. I didn't have to do any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was basically toward. Let's see. It was the deployment stuff happened, like, toward the end of my.
Right.
And I got for whatever reason. When I signed up, the recruiter had guaranteed a West Coast posting.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's
you're a West Coast kid.
Yeah. That's what they could do.
Yeah.
You know, and I was okay with that. I mean, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. You know, I was still very much, you know, homebody.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I wasn't, you know, I wasn't complaining about that. But because of staffing or however it went, they were trying to push me over to what is that? First track, second track's Lejeune, I think.
Okay. So
that would have been an East Coast thing, but then it breached the contract, so they couldn't do it. And I didn't say no, but I also didn't say yes either, you know? And so then it was, well, then we can try to get you with Delta Company, third tracks, which is in 29 Palms, which would have sucked. But they were full, so they couldn't take me. And the only option was then to just go straight and work for the school that I'd just been trained for, which is a non-deployable unit. So because I got pushed into, because of the contract, I became a permanent, my permanent station was Amphibious Assault Schools Battalion, which was 21 area Del Mar.
Okay.
Camp Pendleton. And it's a non-deployable unit, so once we went into combat, then I can't go anywhere because it's, you know, the schools are almost more important at that point because you've got to be able to push more to replace any that we we could lose. And at that time, you know, Saddam had all those weapons of mass destruction and all that shit that we never found.
Right.
And so it was just this huge deal. You know, you can't go anywhere. Blah blah blah. You know, I mean, again, I am not complaining. Right?
Yeah. No.
I didn't get.
But you're also a Marine too.
I'm also a Marine, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's a hard.
Either way,
it's
but
a hard thing for people who aren't in the military to fathom. It's like I'm not complaining, but it would have been nice to.
Yeah. So anyway, I ended up EASing after that end of active service. So you're still in the inactive reserves for a while after
Okay.
that. Your contract's like 8 years. And I don't know why I left. It's a weird. I thought I wanted a family at the time, and that was a bad place for a family. You know?
Yeah. Did you have like a girlfriend at the time, or just?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I should have stayed in.
Yeah.
It would have been a good career for me, I think.
You hear that
I
a
did
lot,
well.
that people, do really well in the military, but for some reason they think they need to get out.
I don't know why.
My brother's a lifer in the Coast Guard, and people had always told him, oh, you can go out and do this, and he smartly said, I'm really good at this. I might as well just stay in and do it. Now he's a Master Chief. And,
if I could do it again, I probably would have tried to become an officer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd already been enlisted, so I felt like that would have been that's a better combination, because
right.
It's weird to see the difference in an officer fresh from college with no kid younger than me, and I'm a corporal at the time, right? With the attitude they had.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. They're supposed to, they're in command, right? So you kind of need some attitude, but for fuck's sake, you still don't know shit. You're greener than a corporal, right? And
that's such a weird dynamic.
It's so weird, and they would be the platoon commander, and so I just, at that point I was like, wow, well, I'm a sergeant now. I get how this all works. I get how the troops work, because I was one.
Right.
And it would have been, I think, a lot better fit. But so I got out. I was still doing the Muay Thai, looking for some kind of career path still.
Yeah.
I started working for Mazda North American Operations at Port Hueneme, which is a naval base a little bit north of where my parents live in Southern California.
Okay.
And I was working for an old chief warrant officer of the Marine Corps. So the dynamic there was pretty good. I fit real well, And my girlfriend at the time's stepdad was a firefighter for Beverly Hills, so I was kind of looking at doing that. I liked that kind of dynamic.
Yeah.
Too. It would have fit also,
Right.
But about a year after getting out, I got into this accident on my motorcycle, which was pretty simple. Like, I'm coming home from work.
Yeah,
from
give me
Fort
the details on this. I don't think I've ever heard this.
Yeah,
story.
so I'm driving home from work, and I'm going through it's like a 4-lane intersection with a divide.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a semi truck in the left turn lane, and I'm in the next lane closest to it. It's a green light for me, but oncoming traffic can't see anybody, couldn't see me coming, and so they took a permissive left, and I happened to be right there. And it was a police officer in a unmarked rescue truck, is who it happened to be, and or sheriff, I think. And so, according to the police report, I've lost a week or so memory from all of that.
Yeah.
I low-sided into the rear axle head first, nose first. So I low-sided, slid into the rear axle, then high-sided, and ejected my body 60 feet down the road or something like that. I'm only going 45 miles an hour, but at an instant stop, that's pretty fast. So I catapulted myself up and over the bed of the truck, and then I guess I came down head first. Superman did straight into the ground. My head went one direction, my shoulder went the other, and it popped 4 of the 5 nerves out of my neck from my arm, which is brachial plexus. And so the guy, the sheriff, jumped out. He was on duty. He jumped out with since the rescue truck had a big first aid kit.
Yeah.
So we started doing all that. And then I wake up about a week later in the hospital.
Jesus Christ.
So I was repeating the same day over and over and over again for like a week straight. I can't imagine the strain on my parents, because
what do you mean repeating the same? What day were you repeating?
The same day, like the same accident day over and over for like 6 or like 6 or 7 days straight. Like I couldn't remember what had happened, and so they would have to tell me each morning when I woke up what happened. Where's my bike? What happened? Why can't I move? Like blah blah blah. So they had to tell me that over and over and over again, and I can't imagine how hard that was on them. Like, and
it's like a really non-funny version of 50 First Dates.
Yeah, right. Why can't I move my fucking arm? James, calm down. Christ. Yeah, and you know it's new each morning, so. Mm-hmm.
God,
and
that's
I was
brutal.
Well, and it was initial nerve pain, so I was flipping the fuck out when I got hurt initially, like telling the doctors to cut my arm off and all kinds of crazy shit because it hurt so bad. You know, initial nerve pain is the worst.
Okay.
Right? You know when you bash your funny bone?
Right.
It's the worst thing,
yeah,
right?
Right.
When you stand up after you're sitting on the shitter for too long and you can't stand on your foot, right?
Yeah.
That's constant in my arm.
Yeah.
So, you know, like I'm used to it now. It's not a big deal. But when you go to stand on your foot, it's the worst. You can't
I've got, and tell me if this is similar. It's so not similar, but I had a acupuncturist hit a nerve in my foot a while back, and now I get this incredible burning sensation in that toe. Like it feels like it's on fire.
Yeah, fire, pins and needles, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Pressure.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I have. Yeah, it's pretty much from my fingertips down all the way up into my shoulder.
Okay.
Yeah, it gets worse with weather. Pressure change fucks it up pretty bad.
Okay.
But I'm not complaining. I mean,
you still have it now?
Yeah,
you
constant.
Still have the pain now?
Yeah, it's 12. Wow. Yeah, it's been 12 years. Same pain.
And they can't.
No. So okay. So, you know, when I do things, I do it all the way, right?
Yeah.
So when I fuck myself up, it's the worst.
Yeah.
And
full throttle.
Full throttle. Yeah, yeah. So the way that you can injure your brachial plexus nerve cluster is in a couple ways. It comes from I forget the specific naming of all the spinal cord pieces, right? But like C5 to T2, I think they are.
Okay.
And it comes out in between them, you know, from your spinal cord, and it bundles up, and then it kind of innervates the whole arm. Well, a couple ways you can injure the nerves is you can stretch them, you can tear them, or you can pull them from the spinal cord, which is called an avulsion. If you're familiar. And I did that.
Okay.
I yanked them out. So because they're avulsed from my neck, they can't do any nerve blocking or any of that stuff where they deaden it. Because if they did that in my spinal cord, they'd mess something else up too.
Sure.
Because it's all, you know, it's a bundle of unmarked wires. You're not going to go into your wall and be like, fuck it, cut this way.
Yeah. Well,
Who knows what that does?
Sure.
You know. So yeah, they can't do anything about it. There's some drug options, but I said no to those. They're all like antipsychotics. So yeah, no thanks. I'd rather be in pain and know that I exist than to be a vegetable drooling out the side of my mouth with still. And by the way, none of that shit takes it away. It just dulls it.
Right.
There is no. Well, sex works. That's pretty good. That's a nice. Yeah.
Maybe I can talk my
toe pain. Yeah, exactly. No, really. Yeah. No, I get a good break. I get a good break from the pain from when that.
Just because your brain goes somewhere else?
Yeah, it's amazing. So distraction is the best painkiller. So, some video games work sometimes, movies and stuff work sometimes, training is amazing.
Yeah.
Because I just, I'm focused, I feel other things, I tend to not focus on the pain. Doing nothing is the worst.
See, I had no idea that it still was painful for you. I didn't know that at all.
Same pain.
That's tough.
Wow. Well, I mean, I don't broadcast it.
Exactly.
You wouldn't know unless I said something.
Right.
And I think that's part of something that people don't know. And so when they when they meet me initially with my personality, it seems like I'm an asshole at first, very hard, closed off at first. But it's because I'm dealing with half my brain's dealing with this pain.
Fuck yeah.
So I don't have the patience for many much other bullshit. And it's been a very interesting transition into the private world for work, like dealing with, weak ass people. Like, right. I'm like, you don't have any idea, what the life, what you could be dealing with right now. And I get to, and so, and then the other half of my brain kicks in and says, well, everybody's pain's relative, which is real.
Yeah.
Your pain is relative to your situation, so your worst is your worst. You can't compare it to anybody else's. Yeah. But then again, you know that there is worse. So
I'm
not moving around with a straw,
Yeah.
So I'm fucking blessed.
It's such a powerful lesson for people to learn what you just said, that your life isn't that bad, and
Absolutely the fuck not. My life is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to the local, watering hole to get my water.
Yeah, right. You're shitting in a toilet.
I'm shitting in a toilet. Yeah. I got a roof.
This is like 7% of the population.
We are in we're in like the top. Is it 7 or 15 or whatever
it
is?
It's
low. So small. Yeah. So small. There is nothing to bitch about living in the United States. I mean, okay, that's bullshit. There is stuff and some people are in poverty, but still, it's.
Yeah. I told this story the other day. My wife has this little food business, and she helps people out, with their meals for the week. And it was like Wednesday night, and it's 9:00 at night. Like I told you earlier, that's bedtime for me. And she just is getting done with the food. And because I don't want my wife going out in the middle of the night and driving to a gym in Lorraine, and I'll take the food in. But I'm getting pissed because it's getting later and later, and I'm getting grumpy, and it's time for bed. So I'm getting mad.
Starting to mess with your routine.
Yeah, I'm getting pissed, and so by the time I load up the food, I'm just like, this is bullshit. I can't believe I've got to go do this. And I get out there, and it was like, it was like March, so the weather is normally shitty, but it was a real nice night. And, I threw a podcast on as I'm driving in, and it's like a 10-minute drive tops. And I start driving, I'm thinking to myself, what a fucking asshole. This is the worst thing I have to deal with in my life, that I have to drive 10 minutes to drop off some food for some people. And this is what I'm bitching about. And so I started thinking to myself, you're so much, you have such an incredible life that this is the hardest thing you have to deal with.
You're not driving through rubble, wondering if the next shell is going to blow up your car.
Yeah. But I love having those moments every once in a while.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
so important for people to do that, where they just have a moment where they sit back and reflect on, okay, how hard is this really? The
whole social troll thing would I think would sort of tend to disappear if people had those moments more often, especially the ones that are on there doing that. They're living other people's lives anyway, so they don't.
Right.
That's what social media is. I mean, you're living another person's life, right?
You see that with a lot of those MMA sites. So you go to like an Instagram site, and you'll see all these guys with all this hatred towards all these fighters, and like or someone like Colby Covington or Nick Diaz, who are kind of dickheads. But first of all, really, you don't know what they are, because this could be all show. But second of all, is Colby Covington really doing anything to you personally? I mean,
or are you just trying to sell tickets?
Yeah, just enjoy the show and quit spouting off all this hatred all over Instagram.
I get the whole sales pitch behind all of that. Yeah. Especially with the what's his face?
WWE.
What's the little Irish guy?
McGregor.
Thank you. Yeah. Is he still relevant, or did he go to jail, or what?
I think he's going to get out of jail.
He throws something through a bus, right?
So the way that went down was this Russian Khabib got into an argument with one of McGregor's boys, one of his guys in his gym.
Yeah.
And the guy had called Khabib a coward. And I don't think you do that to Russian fighters,
Yeah, that would.
So Khabib slapped him in the face. Well, McGregor jumps on an airplane, a private jet with all his homeboys, flies to New York, and goes after Khabib. Finds him on this bus getting ready to leave some UFC event, and they attack the bus and throw the dolly through the bus. Ended up putting one guy out of the UFC fight. So here's this guy's big shot at fame and maybe moving to ladder. Gets hit in the face, and he's out. Rose Namajunas was on that bus, who is like the darling of the UFC now. I mean, she's just this spiritual, beautiful girl, but shaved her head so you don't look at that.
Oh, I know who she is. Yeah.
She's on that bus. She's freaked out to the point where she may not fight that night because it was so stressful for her, but it's just like, but now he's going to probably pay some giant fine or something, but it sets up this fight with Khabib that's going to be like the biggest thing in MMA history.
Come on.
So who knows, I have a hard time believing that wasn't all some kind of Dana White bullshit setup.
Like he's like, you guys need to make this a big deal.
Do something crazy.
Because then we can,
And what if they find him? What are they going to find him? The guy's flying around in private Learjets, I mean.
Yeah. He's got somebody will give him,
Yeah.
some.
Right into the contract.
I get too. I mean, he's got quite the personality. I can see that he's very. And half of me is it's the weirdest thing because I started watching him a while back and he's going over to like he was driving by some guy's house, like he's in his car, and he sees they have a sign up on their their apartment or whatever on their porch, or sorry, their balcony thing, and he goes and he stops and he goes up there and says hi, like, and like it's a weird thing because he's he started with nothing.
Yeah. Did you ever watch his documentary on Netflix? It's really good. It shows him coming up from nothing all the way up to where he is.
I don't think I have.
I like McGregor. I don't know why I like McGregor and I don't like, say, Colby Covington or Nate Diaz. I think maybe because McGregor's so smart about it and he comes up with these one-liners. There was this awesome press conference where
he acts like he's he's doing the whole stupid walk thing, and
he's in this press conference. They got all the guys behind him and everybody's trying to make money off fighting this guy, and he was calling it the red panty moment, where you get the call that you get to fight Conor McGregor, so your wife's so excited she puts on the red panties. So some guy in the background starts talking shit. I don't even remember who it was, but it was some lesser known fighter was talking about Conor McGregor and talking shit about him, and he just grabs the mic and he turns around and looks back at the guy and goes, "Who the fuck is this guy?" He'd never seen him before in his life.
I mean, he's definitely selling, because I doubt. I mean, there's no way that's not.
He's a real world Ric Flair.
Well, what I've noticed is exactly. Yeah. Woo.
Yeah.
Like he after the fights, he's like, he always goes up to the, well, I don't know if he does that anymore, but he would go up to the person that he fought, and they have this some kind of heartfelt thing.
Yeah,
like
he did that with Nate Diaz, grabbed him by the head.
They hated each other.
Right. Like, throwing water bottles at press conferences and shit. And...
Oh my god. So I got injured, and I was doing the Muay Thai. I was a mechanic. Everything hand oriented, so that kind of fucking sucked, right? Like, well, now what? Now what am I worth? I don't think I necessarily got too depressed or anything like that. I just sort of retracted kind of from everything. And one of the things was, at that time, they couldn't tell whether or not what the actual damage was without cutting me open and looking, because the like the MRIs and all the imaging stuff, they can't see nerves, or they couldn't see nerves. I don't know if they can now, but they're too small or whatever, so they couldn't see it. So you can see the specific damage and all that. And so my family and I spent about a year trying to figure out where to go to do whatever we're gonna do with it. And so we went to Stanford, UCLA, the USC, the Mayo Clinic. Reached out to somewhere on the East Coast, can't remember where, but ended up at the Mayo Clinic about a year later. So I went through this whole waiting period where I had no idea what was actually wrong with me. So I was still in this, and I'm a fairly, I would say a fairly positive person when it comes to, so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get better.
Right.
So went to the Mayo Clinic, decided on their surgery to check, and if they were gonna do that, if they found what they found, they were gonna do a transplant as well. And woke up with the transplant, so that meant that the damage was as bad as it can be, and there's not really anything that we could do. So they took my gracilis out of my left leg, which is an abductor muscle.
Okay.
I think an abductor. Yeah, like pulls your
legs
together. Whatever it is. Adductor, abductor, who knows? Either way, it's a little cylinder muscle, right? It runs down your leg. They put it in my arm, and then use some rib nerves, some intercostal nerves, to innervate it, so I can flex it, which is really a leg muscle connected to my rib cage. Wow. So if I breathe, it moves. But I can also flex it by itself. It's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was any better than where I was at, because now it's restricted a lot of things like range of motion and everything. So I can't raise this arm too high.
Could you before?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like it was still a regular arm before. It was all attached the correct way and everything.
Right.
Now I have nerves and arteries and stuff redirected. So like if my arm goes above my head, there's a chance for an artery tear, I think.
Okay.
Which could kill me then, I think. If an artery tears, you bleed to death and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Something like that. Something shitty, right?
I don't know. Can't be good.
Yeah, it can't be good.
It is.
Yeah, so, which is funny enough, because I still did Muay Thai after getting hurt. I just strapped my arm down to my body with those belly strap things, neoprene deals, and just fucking jab the shit out
Did
of you.
people just kick you on your right side all the time?
I was still pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
but I got hit there, and I'm like, okay, you want to hit me in the arm? And so,
Well,
I get
you
after
really
him.
couldn't protect your face that well.
Yeah, you can.
Could you?
Yeah, I just popped
I
my
guess
shoulder
so,
over.
yeah,
I had
yeah.
a pretty good guard. Like,
Yeah.
just used my shoulders a lot. I adapted.
Yeah.
There's a one-armed fighter who won, a one-armed Muay Thai fighter who won the championship. God damn it, I forget his name. They called him One-Armed Bandit, I think.
Yeah.
But he had a stump. It was still, the stump worked, right?
Right.
So you put the glove on the end of the stump, and people would say it'd be like getting elbowed. Because it's right on the bone. Jesus. So yeah, I did that, and I was training one day, and I did a high left round kick, high kick to the head, and slipped on some sweat and landed on the arm and did a compression fracture to the just below the socket of my, what is this, the femur? No, femur's like humerus. Sure.
Aaron's listening to this.
Whatever it is.
Right now,
He's just losing his mind. Yeah, he's fucking morons. So the elbow to the shoulder bone.
Yeah.
I had a compression fracture, and it compressed and twists. And I guess so. I go to the doctor, right? I landed on it. I was like, oh god, that hurt, but I didn't really feel it, right? Because it's dead.
Yeah.
And so it starts swelling up. I don't feel so good. I'm like, this is about, I don't know, 5 hours later after it. I'm like, I'm gonna go to the doctor. So I go to the doctor, and they take the X-ray, and they're like, yeah, you have this compression fracture. And he goes, it's a good thing you can't feel it, because it's the worst fracture you can have in your arm. And I'm like, don't know if that was a, I don't know, that's.
But you're a positive guy.
And
so
I'm like,
all
right, okay, yeah, that's cool. And he's like, I'm like, well, what are you gonna do about it? He's like, well, we could put you in a sling or a cast, but it really doesn't matter, because you're not using it anyway, and you need traction on it, so the arm needs to hang, so it fixed itself.
Wow.
But I didn't feel it, so it's okay.
Yeah. Look for the positives.
Yeah. I was sitting there. I remember my arm's swelling up, and it's not like fitting in the sleeve, and I'm sitting there trying to drink beer and eat Mexican food. I'm like, it feels good, So I ended up moving out here with an ex-girlfriend. She got a real nice job at Abercrombie and Fitch as a designer.
Okay.
So moved out here, which is funny because now it's funny, but I moved out here, but this is like the hub for strength sports.
It really is.
Like Columbus,
Ohio is.
Ohio in
Columbus
general, but Columbus is where I moved to.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. Like being from Southern California, I don't know shit about nothing.
Nobody knows that. That's why the Arnold's here.
We don't know nothing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know any about. I mean, I knew what weightlifting was.
Right.
Like in the sense of the bro stuff, right?
Yeah.
Not like Olympic weightlifting, because you lift weights to play football, and I lifted a little bit of weights to do the Muay Thai and all that. But I didn't know what powerlifting was. I didn't know what strongman was. I've seen some stuff on TV. I'm like, oh, that's cool. These guys are strong,
Yeah.
But I didn't know what it was. So I moved here, I think 2007 or 8 or something like that. 9 years.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
2009 maybe. 2009 sounds more about right. And while living here, I was still in that waiting phase, like I was telling you, like I was waiting for my arm to get better, because I waited already, and so that was the mentality. I was just still kind of waiting, so I wasn't doing anything. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I could do anything. Like shit, I used to fix stuff. Now how am I going to do that? I mean, that's the first thing. You don't think you're worth much, especially. I mean, come on, men in general, we use our hands to fix shit, right? Yeah. That's what we do.
Well, men do. I don't. I can't fix anything.
I mean, you could screw in a
duct tape.
Yeah, whatever. Tape. I mean, you're still gonna use your hands, though,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was kind of it was tough to get through that. But eventually, I ended up at this gym, and starting to work out again. I realized that it's still entirely possible,
Sure.
And I see these two guys in a squat rack with bands on the bar. I'm like, what the hell? I'm talking to my buddy who I was training with at the time. I'm like, what is that? He's like, oh, it's powerlifting. Yeah, you don't want to do that. You'll get hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll get hurt because of this or what. And so I kind of kept after it, and I ended up at the Dog House, which is like an old school gym down in Columbus,
Okay.
off of Green Lawn next to the jail.
Okay.
And that's where these two guys were training. And when I went down there, I ended up meeting a guy named John Brown, and he kind of decided that he was going to see if he could like break my spirit, because I'm like 190 pounds and I'm in this powerlifting gym with like, God, I mean, Brandon Lilly was in there, at the time, Gracie Vanez.
Yeah.
She was in there
Yeah.
with what was her dude at the time? Jay something. Jason Fry was in there.
Uh-huh.
And Chuck Vogelpohl.
Okay.
So they were in and out of there, like and I don't know who these people are.
Yeah, right.
I mean, these are huge people in powerlifting, and this, in like the West Side kind of, you know. And so I'm getting all this, I'm absorbing this information and this knowledge and stuff from these people, and they just couldn't kick me out of there, They couldn't train me hard enough to where I wouldn't come back,
right.
So I just kept at it, and a few years later, I seen this disabled strongman stuff on probably Facebook or something, but it was only going on in Iceland.
Right, because Magnus was the guy.
It's actually Arner. Oh God, Arner. I don't know how to say his last. I don't know his last name.
Yeah, some of those names are.
Yeah, and Magnus.
Okay.
Those two. Those two are the ones that. Well, Arner started it, and then Magnus is. I think he's been doing it most of the time. And so it's only in Iceland, and I see it, and they're doing stones and stuff, and I'm like, well, fuck, I can't do stones. Which is funny.
Be honest, when you came up,
which
I
is
didn't think you'd be
funny
able to stones.
because stones is my thing now.
Right.
Like, I thought back then, I was like, I can't do that, so I can't compete.
I didn't know how you were going to do it when you came up.
Right. So I'm under the impression that I couldn't really do strongman because that's the first thing I saw was them doing stones. And and in Iceland initially it was mainly guys with like neurological issues. Mm-hmm. So like CP and stuff like that. So I don't think it was the big amputee / paralyzed type guys didn't really start hitting it until later after all the Afghanistan stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So. I'm like, I want to do this, but I didn't think I could, which is funny because I hadn't already, did I not learn that already? Come on now. I started, I was doing powerlifting. I squatted 750 in the squat suit with one arm on a bar.
That's fantastic.
I mean, I didn't, so if I can do that, I can, do this shit. I just got to figure it out, Yeah. And so. Was
there a way to bench press? Did they?
Yeah, I benched.
One arm?
Yeah.
Just
I benched
hand in the middle knurling?
190, the best. Out of meat is the best I've ever benched.
Like hand in the middle knurling deal?
Hand in the middle knurling, come down with the paws, all that stuff. And a whole meat.
Man.
190 is my best.
Wow.
I don't know if I could do that now with my shitty elbow.
I couldn't balance. I don't think I could do 115 like that.
Yeah, you could. It's not as hard as you
try
think.
Oh,
hell yeah, I'll teach you how to do it.
Yeah, I want to try it.
It's just setup. Your brain doesn't think setup like that.
Yeah.
Mine does because that's how I'm built now, So, anybody can do it. And that's part of the thing, too. So as I'm doing this shit, I'm starting to get this praise, and I'm like, I don't deserve none of this shit. I'm just like everybody else, right? Anybody can do what I can do. They just don't know. And that was kind of weird for me because, and not to mention, like, coming through all of this stuff and my life, everything was like earn your place of respect, military, martial arts.
Yes.
All of that stuff.
Pay your
like
dues.
I pay my fucking dues.
Yeah.
I earn my respect when I've earned it. You know, and so it was weird getting a lot of praise for stuff that I didn't necessarily know. Didn't feel like I was any stronger or any better than the next strongman. Or the big time guys. Like I'm like I can't do what they can do. It's just it was a weird thing which I've started to kind of accept at this point. Like. I know what I can do now, and like, it's still kind of, I still want to say, yeah, but you could do it. you know.
Yeah, with strongman, and Highland Games is the same way, and I've talked about this a lot with Zach, who's my right hand guy here. There's an art to those two sports where you don't have to be Thor, because your art is lifting that stone, and it's you against that stone, whether
Right.
that's Brian Shaw lifting a 560 stone or us lifting a 200-pound stone. There's just an art to that.
Absolutely.
And you celebrate that art.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be
You
the
don't.
best
It's
in the
not the
world.
weight, yeah. And so it's just, I started doing the competitions, all the disabled strongman competitions and stuff, and I did the Arnold 2 years ago, and I
Yeah.
did some stones there, and it blew up social media, and I got a bunch of followers and stuff, and I started getting interesting. I would get these messages of praise and stuff from like all over the planet, really.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
it just started hitting me kind of heavy. Like, what have I actually done? And so to me, really, the most I think the most I've gotten out of this is the inspiration to people in similar situations,
Yeah.
for them to continue to not just, and like I got this message from this guy in like Brazil who said he was one step away from killing himself, comes across my Instagram, starts watching all these videos. He's got some kind of arm issue as well.
Mm-hmm.
Turns his life around, gets back in the gym, sends me this praise message like, "Hey, you saved my life." Like, I don't, that's like pretty heavy. So like that hits me more,
Yeah.
like more than any trophy, more than any money, anything. That is what
I was just gonna say that's got to be better than anything you could possibly win.
Standing on a podium in first place does me nothing compared to that.
You saved a guy's life.
Yeah, like, so I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but and I got a message from I just recently got a Facebook message from a mom who trains a bunch. It's a track team of a bunch of kids that have some kind of either mental disability, physical disability, or something, and she plays the videos for the whole class.
Wow.
And they freak out and then just go, they go
Wow.
kill it. So she's like, "Please keep posting stuff," and I'm like,
yeah, if anyone should. If you're getting those kind of messages, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That is more motivating to me than even my own motivation.
Yeah.
Like, it just puts me back into the whole spirit of things.
Well, when you came up for Highlander, I was friends with you on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was on Instagram as much as I am now, but I had no idea that your arm was fucked up. No idea. And you showed up, and I'm like, what the fuck's this guy gonna do? And I don't have anything in place for him, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And you were like,
I got it.
Yeah. There was like, I'm just gonna go compete in this class.
I'll be fine.
And you're doing stones, and I remember watching you doing stones and just going, what the fuck? How is this even possible? It's amazing to me, because especially with Atlas stones, that there's such there's, for me, when the next day I feel it in my arms and shoulders from that squeeze and pull in, and you just wrestle those fucking things up there.
Yeah, I've been playing around with those things. I got some. I hope I can. I'm trying to get Steve to make me a bunch of stones, because what I've found is that the specific diameter matters for one arm.
Sure, yeah.
And as they get heavier, they get too big, and so I want them to get heavier, but not any bigger. So
have you had Steve make you one before?
I'm working on it. He's pretty busy, so it's kind of tough. But I've met him in person.
He made one for me a couple weeks ago, and it's beautiful. It's a 405 stone that's in the same size as like a 300 stone. So it's just the most beautiful stone ever, and it's so much easier. I couldn't lift our 410 because I couldn't get my arms around.
Too big around, right?
So he's making. So now I told myself, now you have to make me 420 and
right.
430.
So I have these ideas, these aspirations of glory and honor,
Yeah.
for stone lifting, because I mean, I think there's something really like primal about lifting a fucking stone.
It's my favorite thing in strongman.
Oh my god, you don't feel any more strength and power than you do by lifting something from the earth.
Yep.
That is supposed to be heavy and that no people are supposed to be able to lift. You know, it's just
stone lifting is my favorite. Whether it's natural stones or the first time I ever did it was in Fergus, Ontario, Canada, and it was after a Highland Games. they used the North American Championships out there, and then they would roll out the Atlas stones for anybody to try. And there's thousands of people surrounding these barrels, and there used to be, there was only two sets of stones in the world, the McGlashan stones and the true Atlas stones in Fergus. And I tacked up with this shitty tacky that we use for throwing, and I'm in my kilt, and I ended up getting, I think there was 3 stones, and I think I lifted the 300. There was 5 stones, and I got the 300. I couldn't go any higher than that, but after that, I was completely
stuck.
hooked.
Just hooked. Yeah, and so I decided that I just wanted it. I loved it. I loved the stone stuff, and so I kept after. I can't really use tacking because I can't put it on my arm myself. So I don't use it.
Yeah.
I don't use it at all really. But the tacky towel thing, now that is a
I've
blessing.
seen that.
So
Yeah.
I can just grab it and it gets a little bit on me and I can dab it on my arm, and then it's perfect because if I have too much sticky shit on me, I can't move my arm fast enough. And I have to be quick with my arm placement and movement and stuff. And
yeah, I'm trying to think about that.
Chris Vaccio, he lent me his 115-pound, like 16-inch diameter stone that Slater made for him. And I've been practicing technique and stuff with that, trying to, just get better and better and better. And a few weeks ago, I went up to Steve Schmidt's place.
Yeah, I love Steve. He's one of my favorite humans. One of the best things about this podcast is I got to meet Steve Schmidt.
Steve Schmidt, he is super motivating to me.
He's a fucking barbarian.
Oh my god, I love it, man. Like I picture him on the Conans, just pushing that fucking grinding thing.
Yeah, I love it.
Such a badass.
I love him.
And so I went up to his place, and I'm fucking just motivated as shit, and I toss a 180-pound stone to the shoulder.
Yeah,
I'm
holy
like,
shit.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck? Because I barely was able to do 150 the last time I tried. So I'm getting a 30-pound PR. So then fuck it, I'll try pressing a stone. He's got a 130. Pressed it. I'm like, how the fuck did I do this? So I just...
Yeah, that guy will motivate the shit out of you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it just and then,
I actually train him. He's on my programming. He does all.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, I send him programming every week, and
maybe
he'll send me these inspirational messages. I felt like a Cimmerian, and I was, you're like, yeah, man, I get it.
So yeah, I have the Viking Highlander in July. I'm going out to Paul's place to do that. And
we'll be down there for that. Refined Sandwich. I'll have a booth down there for that one.
Excellent. Yeah. So the Conan's wheel, I played with that finally. I got my arm under it.
Yep.
I got 600 pounds loaded for about a half turn. I don't know how much he's going to have on it, but I wanted to go to as high as I could to see how much I could actually move.
Yeah, right.
So it's situations like that where I realize kind of like what strength I've actually built over the last few years, because Chris will come over, or some of the other guys that are there will come over and they'll try to do it and they can't move it. Like they can't move it.
There's no way I could get 600 pounds up with one arm.
So like I don't know, it just didn't seem all that bad for me, and anyway, so I ended up here, or in in Ohio, and the strength sports stuff changed my life. I mean, it gave me the confidence back. I am a huge proponent of strong body, strong mind. Mm-hmm. Like, the stronger you are physically, the stronger you are mentally.
I agree 100%.
I mean, that doesn't mean you can't be a strong-willed person or have a strong mind. You're not weak because you're weak, mm-hmm. It just adds to it, And I don't know, I got back in school, I got a degree, got a job, bought a house, like all of this shit from strength.
Yeah.
What else can I mean, there's anybody, that's what I tell people. I'm like, oh, I want to lose weight, blah, 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 blah. I want to get in shape. I'm unhappy, blah, blah. Okay, well, just get stronger first.
I tell everyone that every good thing in my life has come from being strong. So the job I do now, which is my dream job, and it doesn't feel like I go to work at all, is all because I was strong and started lifting weights when I was 12 years old. I've got a super hot wife who, is as enlightened as she is, wouldn't have looked at me if I wasn't jacked. I had a career for 17 years where I got to throw weights and travel all over the world because I was strong.
Yeah.
It's every good thing comes from that.
all of this to fruition, I have qualified for the world's strongest disabled man in September in Norway.
Are they doing that with World's Strongest Women too? Because I think World's Strongest Women's in
Disabled
Norway
women?
too. No, just regular. Like
I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe they are piggybacking on that.
Because I know
Sure.
I talked to Brooke Souza the other day. I think that's where she's going. I don't know if it's the same time, but
September 8th, 9th?
it is.
Yeah.
That's when it is. Yeah.
So I've gone from I didn't think I could lift stones to qualifying for the world's strongest disabled man or person, whatever, disabled. Yeah.
How do they break it down? Like, will people in your class be arm injured?
I'm in the standing class.
Okay.
So there is no breakdown for the arm thing. So I'm at a huge disadvantage, really.
Right.
I mean, most of the guys that are top are either, below the knee amputation or some kind of like maybe hand issue where it's a little bit of but they have working arms, both of them. So, yeah, I tend to have quite a disadvantage in most of the events.
It seems to me that in the infancy of this sport that we really need to, and maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, there needs to be some kind of a breakdown of what you can do.
Yeah,
what constitutes
there needs to be a handicap.
Right. I mean, if I come in and I've had multiple CTEs and I've had my head kicked a bunch of times, but I'm still strong as fuck and all my
you
limbs
don't qualify. Yeah.
Right.
You're not. Yeah, it's not the same. It's
and
not.
I think that right now people are going, yeah, okay, you're handicapped. I'll let you.
Yeah, right. So Chris has been fighting a little bit with that. He had somebody ask him if they could compete because they were missing a finger.
Oh shit.
I mean, how
fucking embarrassing.
I'm just to me that's kind of cowardly.
Absolutely.
Like, listen, a disabled sport is a disabled. Do you have something that's actually debilitating?
Yeah.
Like, for lifting stones, having one arm is probably the hardest thing there can be.
I can't think of anything.
What I mean, you could or
although
actually
bench pressing seems
missing a leg and an arm.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but either way.
Well, I saw Derek do stones
Carver,
with one leg, and
it's harder. I think it's harder
really?
for him. Yeah, I don't think he can.
See, I've seen you both do it. It looks harder for you.
I think I can get a heavier stone than him, though.
Well, it's because you're just way stronger.
I don't know about that. He's gonna come down here and be like, "What the fuck? Who's that guy?" Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of things to help guide the competition.
Good.
Because to try to make it a little bit more. It's a weird thing. It's so weird for me to talk about the disabled sports trying to make it more fair. Like, it's already, it's just so one of the things is when you have an overhead press event.
So we talked about this on the podcast.
Which actually, I'm a lot more motivated now, and I have a lot more experience. So I feel like maybe in the next Highland Games I can help put together something. We had talked about this a long time ago. Yes. I was not ready.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing. Now I have a lot more perspective on how everything works, seated versus standing versus CP versus arm versus leg, or all of that stuff. There's a lot of stuff, and so one of the biggest things is if you have an overhead press event, right, and you have an implement for like a dumbbell, like a monster bell, and then you have, say, like a log, you give the athletes the choice to use either one, right, even if they're two-armed or one-armed,
right,
but the dumbbell, the choice is one limb only, one hand only. Right. Not don't let them come over and grab it with two hands. Because the hardest part about that whole fucking thing is getting it to the shoulder with one hand. So that's the thing. I've been kind of
would they be the same weight? Would the log be the same weight as the
dumbbell?
No.
Okay. No.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So you have a 200-pound log. I mean, you can't have a 200-pound dumbbell. Yeah. That's not the same.
But there probably some equivalent.
Yeah. Chris was looking at like the strongest overhead pressers, seeing what they overhead press, seeing what their dumbbell was,
that's
and
getting
a good idea.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. The last one for the. That stubby thing that Mauser has, that stubby log thing?
Yes, yeah.
I did 150 for that. Got it shoulder, pressed it. I tried 170. I got it to the shoulder in some fucked up way because I couldn't, the way that it was loaded, so the weights were like, they came narrow, so I couldn't put it on my leg because I used my leg to kick it up to my shoulder.
Yeah.
So that didn't work out. I got it to the shoulder, and then I couldn't get my hand in the handle. Anyway, so that's I can get 100 150-ish. Like that was maybe a 2-inch handle. So the handle, obviously, Chris has that 3-inch fucking monster bell.
Yeah.
And it weighs 135, so that's harder,
because
it's so big. So it depends on the handle too, like that makes quite a bit of difference. Especially, think about it, like, so if you say in strongmen specifically, they do that monster bell, right? The reason why the monster bell's like at 330 pounds or something like that is because they use both hands to get it to the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Can anybody actually grip that and get it to the shoulder? No. The Thomas Inch is hard. That's 172.
Yeah, I can't even get it off the ground.
Most people can't even get that off the ground. So you see what I'm saying when it comes to that? Like, it's a little bastardized because it's supposed to be a one-end implement, but they use two hands to clean it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, and I get too. I mean, sensational. 330 pounds is amazing, compared,
they want to see
they want to see that.
See a big weight,
so, but for the disabled stuff, like there's a clear separation there. So if you choose to use the way you make it fair, right, by changing the weights, is you say, well, that implement you can only use one hand.
Mm-hmm.
This implement you can use both.
Right.
Here's the weight changes. You choose. Which one do you want to do?
Yeah,
right. So that gives me the option to, be competitive with everybody else.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that,
And all that stuff's got to be worked out and figured out. And
absolutely. It is all new. And we had talked to Dion with Strongman Corporation and
Dion Wessels.
Yeah, Dion Wessels. And so I think one of the big things is the Paralympic Games has a huge rule book on the disabilities and percentages and of how you get scored based upon that, and it's just this massive thing. And,
tome.
And she had, I think she got that and some other information about how dangerous it is for disabled athletes, and like how you have to be real specific about certain things because they're more prone to injuries or stuff like that, and I think that would make anybody nervous, so but anybody who's doing this stuff is aware,
It's not if you're gonna get hurt, it's when.
Right. And I've been focused mainly on slow and steady wins the race. It's like all the strength sports to me, and what I was taught initially is that it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
People try to get too strong too fast, and then nothing can handle it. None of the joints can handle it. And so luckily I've been fairly decently, not injured all that much. I mean, I get elbow issues every now and then and stuff like that, but and I think part of the problem with trying to make the sport even more fair, I would say, for all the different disabilities is how complicated that is. And so it's going to be a huge undertaking for anybody who takes it under their their wing, and I'm thinking that it has to be an actual disabled athlete who's motivated to do so.
I think so too, and I also think it's going to be easier for you to tell someone no, you don't qualify.
Right, absolutely, because somebody who like Chris, I think it's hard for him to say no, you don't qualify.
I absolutely can understand that. I would have a hard time saying no, you're not handicapped enough.
Yeah, you're right, exactly. How the fuck you can't say that?
Say that to somebody.
I can.
Yeah.
I can tell you go fuck yourself.
It's like black people using the N-word.
Right.
I can't do that, but I can't own that.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting, last few years really with this stuff, and I love it. I mean, I'm completely hooked. I love lifting stones. I love it. It's super motivating for me personally. It's my pain relief too. It's almost spiritual in a sense.
It's definitely spiritual.
It's an experience I think everybody needs.
People don't get that. I get women in here especially who come in, obviously just want to get in shape. They want to look better.
Yeah.
And then the first time you put them on Atlas stones, they walk in and see that pile of Atlas stones in there, and they're just like, what are those?
I can't do it. Yeah.
And then the first time we're loading them to the platform and they do something crazy, and then they're like, yeah, I need tacky now, you know. And
Yeah,
and
it
it's
just
like
compounds. It becomes
primal
absolutely.
craziness that they start to embrace, you know.
Yeah.
And guys are obviously the same way, and
It's just built into human beings, I think.
yeah.
Primally, I mean that's they wherever we, you know, whatever you believe, you know, if we evolved or whatever, at some point we had to lift fucking stones to build our houses and all of that shit.
I tell people that the highlight of my athletic career, and I've been in the Highland Games since '91. 17 years professional, had a world record. I've been on a world team champion. The highlight of my athletic career was failing at the Husafell Stone. I picked it up, I walked 60, 70 feet and dropped it. But it was the best experience I've had as an athlete because I'm in Iceland and my wife's there and Matt Vincent's
and
filming
it's the
it
actual
for
stone.
It's the actual stone.
Yeah.
I'm in front of a glacier and I've been on an airplane and I haven't slept for 30 hours and I'm not tackied up and I'm in a pair of jeans and a Ric Flair t-shirt. It's just like I'm going to pick up this stone that's been sitting here for 500 years and that every major strongman in the world has tried to lift.
Well, it's been sitting there longer than that. It's just been lifted for the last. Yeah.
And it was the best thing I've ever done as a strength athlete. This fucking stone, man.
One of the things. So what the deal with the stones too is if I can get these heavier stones, I feel like I gain some strength from that.
Yeah.
I want to go to Scotland. I need to go over there and I need to lift shit.
So
I want to do the Stoneland thing.
Have you heard about the trip we want to do?
No.
Dan Tennyson's idea, and I've talked about this a bunch. Dan Tennyson came up with this idea, and Tom Stroka told me about it, and I'm in, and I want to do it regardless. You know, Dan's injured right now, so it's killing me, but I want to do it next summer, and I want these guys to do it too, and we want to go over there, just a group of guys, kind of a league of extraordinary gentlemen, and just go over there and travel around the country and lift all
those stones.
You
those stones of manhood.
You got to come with us.
Oh my God, I would love to.
You got to do it.
It would be the most. That's my family is a lot Scottish too, which is funny that all of these parallels have sort of come into fruition from like, you know, just what's in my blood to what I can do now to what I love doing.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, you know, my mom's mom, her last name is Phipps, so or I'm sorry, her last name is Calderwood. So, you know, it's all, like, the majority of that family is all from Scotland.
Yeah.
And that's where all this fucking stone shit is from, you know? Like, it's just weird. You know, I didn't plan nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I planned none of this shit.
Yeah.
This is how it's happened. And I've been, like I was saying, it's just every day, next day. Like, you know, I live in the day. Let's do the day. All right, I have this goal out here. I'm gonna try to do this, you know, this strongman competition for disabled people.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I qualified for Worlds. Fuck, I'll try that now. You know, like, you know, and that's kind of how it's gone. And
we talk about that, my wife and I talk about it a lot, because she's very much the planner, and she sees 5-10 years in the future, and I don't live past the end of the week.
Right.
It's like, I'm just gonna do the coolest shit I can do today, and then tomorrow I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna try to do the coolest shit I can do on Sunday. You know, and I think that works out better because I keep us in the now, and she keeps us from being poor in 10 years.
That's a really good point. We all need balance.
Yeah.
I think balance is huge, and that's something that I've like started to really embrace when it comes to even lifting and like joint pain and stuff like that. A lot of people have an imbalance in the strength in their muscle, and I think that causes a lot of issues in the joint, like forearms, for instance. You know, you get elbow pain, but because you use your flexors so much, you're just all this tension's on one side of the elbow, you know, and you're not doing your extensors at all, you know. So work those and then balance out the joint, balance out the pressure. Same thing with your knees, you know. You're quad dominant. You're working all this, you know. You're on a bike all the time. You have no hamstrings. Well, then deadlift and watch your body balance itself to where you're not going to have these, you know, I mean, there's repetitive joint issues and stuff like that. But the pressure in your joints will stabilize, and you have a lot. It just seems to me like that is work. You know, it's logical almost in a sense, you know. And same thing goes with, you know, thought processes, relationships, and all of that stuff. Like this, you got to have balance. You got to have both sides of the, you know, you got to have light and dark, all of that stuff. And you do that, and everything just works out so much better. It's a, you know, it's a weird thing. You know.
Keep working on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And building. And...
and some of the biggest things too, like you are responsible for your own happiness, period. Nobody else can make you happy. I don't care what it is. Like, they can add to it, right? They can give you an emotional response, but they can't make you happy.
Yeah.
Like, you have to decide to be that way.
Yep.
You know, and in general, people just, they spend too much time in the negative. They spend too much time being unhappy. But you know, it ends up becoming a choice. I mean, if I can sit here and be in chronic nerve pain and be paralyzed in one limb and still choose to be happy.
Yeah.
Come on. You know, like, everything, life is difficult. I get that. But make the choice. Just choose to change your thought process.
Yeah.
You know?
That's it's one of the main tenets behind the whole Refined Savage brand and podcast was that when I was throwing, the way I competed all my life was out of anger and, oh, fuck that guy. He threw this far. I'm going to throw a little bit further. And add that, so that I was making my money that way. Add that on top of, I was in a poor marriage where I was always pissed off at her. And then I had another job that was a really negative experience, and I did that for 19 years. So for that whole time, I was just in this horrible situation where I go home and I was pissed off, and I go to work and I was pissed off, and I would go to a gym and train to do a sport that I could only compete well with when I was pissed off. And then I started making little changes. So I divorced my first wife, and that all of a sudden gave me some freedom, and I started getting a little bit happier. And then I met Aaron, and that made me even happier. And then we started this gym, and the gym made me happy every time I was going there, but I was still going to work in this shithole. So what I said was, fuck it, I'm just going to make this gym as successful as possible. So I started putting all my efforts into the gym to the point where I was forgetting to go to work. So I was getting in trouble.
You made these choices. You created your own happiness.
And the snowball starts rolling. So then I quit that job.
And those things just start adding.
And they just start adding.
But you chose. You were like, fuck.
Take the jump and take the leap.
Choose it.
I'm going to be happy, damn it.
The world would be a lot better place.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there really isn't. We don't have much to bitch about.
No saber-toothed tigers chasing us. No.
I'm not worried where I'm going to eat tomorrow.
No.
What I'm going to eat tomorrow. If I'm going to eat tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, these are the fundamental things that we take for granted. We don't see. You know, well, some of us see, but most of us don't see. And you know, and on top of that, nobody takes responsibility for anything. So, well, not nobody, but you know, that's another thing. You really. You know, you have to. I mean, it's nobody's fault but your own.
Yeah.
You know, you've created your own shit. You know, like, so create your own happiness. Like,
change your life.
Change it
for the better.
Do it yourself. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna say that it's easy because it really isn't. It took me a really long time. It took me like 5 years or something like that to really start changing things around. And I had to come across something that motivated me into that position to create the change.
It's that one initial
but
thing.
But it's the thing. It's the thing. It's something there, you know. And if I can do that for other people, I mean, I felt like I've succeeded in life, you know. And I think that's part of what really pushes me to keep going, you know, through everything. Like, you know, I mean, I'm probably beating up my body pretty bad, but I do what I can to, you know, keep it as healthy as I can, you know, and
you're living your life. You're doing what you want to do.
So I heard these two quotes. I heard these two quotes when I first started, and one of them was Mark Bell, and the other one was, I think they were both from him, but he didn't know who the one was from, and the other one was from him, and he said, you know, he said he got this post from somebody who he was benching with, and his elbows were hurting, and this guy said, you know, hey, your elbows, you're gonna fuck yourself up and all this stuff, and he goes, well, I'm sorry to say, but we're all headed toward the wheelchair, so you might as well live how you want while you can, you know. And
the exact quote is written on the wall.
Oh, is it really?
See, yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah, that's awesome.
Mark Bell does some things where I'm like, okay, he's cool, and then sometimes
that was profound for me. That was absolutely profound for me. I heard that and I was like, holy shit, he's right.
Yeah, he comes up, and that's a guy who's come through years and years of failure and successes, but all through training. Another guy who probably everything he has comes from strength.
Right, exactly, yeah. And the other one that he said was, you either can be weak and in pain or strong and in less pain.
a
And I'm like,
no-brainer, right?
I'm like, those I forget what specific video it was, but it
Yeah.
just I was like, and so it's been kind of that's what I try to live that way. And
I think it's the right way to live. I think that quote, I think that was one of his moments where he had no idea what was coming out of his mouth when he said it, but it really
and which is
affected
why
people.
And those are the best quotes.
Yeah.
People don't. You think about something too long, you're not gonna. That came from where it needed to come from.
Yeah. Yep.
It was one of those ideas, those thoughts to just. This is correct. This is the way.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like I don't know. It's stuff like that kind of kept with me for the longest period of time, and here I am.
Yeah.
Talking to you.
Well, we've been talking for a while now. I think what we need to do is go out and lift some shit and just go and perform our art.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you for coming up. I think this has been fantastic, and we need to do it again.
Hell yeah.
So James Spurgin, give them your Instagram so people can follow it and be inspired.
My Instagram is at 1 arm power. So it's the number 1 and then ARMPOWER.
All right.
Yeah, that's my handle. 1 arm power. Yeah.
Let's go lift some shit.
All right.
This has been the Refined Savage. See ya.